Hey there, everybody. Guess who it is? It's me, SimplySuperDave, coming at you with another episode of Staying Super with SimplySuperDave. How redundant is that? Anyway, guys, we had a pretty dark little podcast last night, didn't we? I had to go there because I had to let you know. I think I brought it up in another podcast before, touched on it, but I never really went into the story. A lot of great memories in Las Vegas, yes, but I had to leave it behind. I had to actually leave Las Vegas. I enjoyed the entire experience, even all the way to leaving. A lot of memories there to learn from. A lot of memories I never want to forget. And, but it led me into a different life. Like I said, when you climb from rock bottom, the path back up is just as dark as the path going down. Okay? No one tells you that. They think, oh, once you make a commitment to not do this anymore, to let go of your demons or whatever it is, that you won't have to ever deal with it again. That is not true. And that is part of owning up to your shit. And I try to preach about that a lot because a lot of people like to point fingers. A lot of people like to shove blame or guilt or burden onto others based on what's going on in their lives. Now, if you're listening to this and you feel like, is he talking about me? If you know me personally, no. But I guarantee you, each and every one of you feel that. You know, like, if not from me, from somewhere in your life, you know that feeling. You know why you know that feeling? Because you're guilty of it. We all are, because it's a human thing, okay? That's kind of part of about living. That's so tricky. We're not afraid to own up to our flaws. You are a flawless thing to be told by everybody. You need to be like this, or the best version of you can be. And now it's gotten to the point where, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for representation of every type of human being alive, okay? I'm all cool for that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going there. But there was a standard at one point in time, you know, thin, good looking, always well dressed, blah, blah, blah. And somewhere in the, from the 60s on, it was a kind of a rebellious thing in our country. And I think that was, if you look at it from one way or the other, if we would have maintained that outlook, that 1950s, everything that really everything from it was like the basis of the Industrial Revolution from the early 1900s. Everything that's educational was sponsored by Rockefeller. Everything that's oil-based, the pharmaceutical companies, the medical industry, seriously, the education system all the way to public schools, all orchestrated by the business plan put forth by Rockefeller in the early 1900s. Him and J.P. Morgan, I swear, have to be the two titans that you got to look back in history that really influenced our country more than any president probably did. Maybe not more than Abraham Lincoln, okay? I'm not willing to say that. But as far as like the 1900s and on, as far as the last century, we are now dealing with trend makers that will change our world, like Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and people like that, okay? There are not very many. A lot of them are just CEOs that can't handle, like, pushing forward and taking leaps and risk and a lot of criticisms from people. Like, how many memes have you seen of either one of those guys I just mentioned, making fun of them? But I mean, come on, they're one of the, look where they're at, is all I'm saying. You can make fun of them all you want. They feed off of that. And the more you do, it's just like more money in the bank for them. You keep them relevant no matter what, okay? But they are also people that's always in the headlines because they're always doing something to kind of push forward whatever they're doing. Elon's kind of got his foot in a lot, but Zuckerberg, I mean, just all the truth. Now, they are two different faces, and it's possible that they will fight each other in the octagon. Dana White is all cool with doing it and putting it up, and so there's possibility. I'm not lying. Look it up yourself. Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk in an MMA match. Be the biggest match in history. I think everybody would have to want to see that. And that would be amazing. But I mean, we're living in a world where we're having people like that fight, and we're going to pay money to see that over what traditional boxing was. Same, you see what I'm saying? Like, even sports has evolved to this weird, cartoonish version of what it was. The grittiness. Star Wars, perfect example. This is the reason why the trilogy had such a separation from the rest of, well, I think they've come full circle. Jon Favreau knows what he's doing. He knows how to mix CGI and real special effects together to bring that grittiness back in film with the Star Wars movies. And I love that. But there for a while, it was like all CGI, and it was like, but it was before those movies. So just logically, you're like, well, they can't have better technology and looks more futuristic than the movie that's set in the future from those films. But that's what they did anyway. So that kind of bothered me from an artistic point of view, just to say, you know. But they got too clean with it, where it was just too cartoony of a Star Wars compared to the grittiness of the late 70s, early 80s Star Wars. And there was some magic in that grit, you know. I love grit. I think grit is what keeps us going. It's that inner thing that just keeps you burning alive to be who you are as the flawed individual that you are. Yes, that's right. Staying super means we talk about the stupid shit nobody else is going to tell you. All right. Yes. Last night I was talking about how important you are, because look what would have happened if I would have actually been successful in my plan in Las Vegas. I would have lost 21 more years of my life. I wouldn't be here right now doing this podcast, having these thought-provoking conversations with myself to share to you. How crazy is that? Broadcasting around the world. Just so futuristic from where 21 years ago, you know, where didn't even have a cell phone, I don't think, at that point. I'm trying to remember if I know, no, I didn't think I got my first, and it was a flip phone, and we're talking about 2008. Wow. So yeah, this is living in Vegas back when you used payphones, okay, and pagers, or if I had a flip, I don't think I had used, when I took the bus, I had used payphones at the bus stations when we stopped. So I, let people know, hey, I'm a few hours away, can you pick me up? Yeah. Great stories. But I'm a very flawed individual. And in this world that practices that atomic model through mass media, even if they represent your group or your whatever you are associated to in movies and TV, they do it in a way that almost doesn't really truly represent you. Feels kind of cartoonish, doesn't it? I miss the grit. I miss it. That's all I'm saying. I miss it. I like the flawed parts and individuals to make you feel normal, because everybody is. And since we want to shun away our flaws so much and not just deal with them, they become such heavy burdens and anchors that mentally we can't handle it the older we get, because we keep putting it off. Because there's no way that really exists. That's just in your head, right? Big keynote here, folks. If it's in your head, it really fucking exists. And if it's not in someone else's head, does that mean it doesn't exist? It does. Okay, I know that's going to piss a lot of people off. A lot of intellectual people be like, no, you can't say that. That means just everybody's right. Why not? What does it matter at this point, really? I mean, there has to be rules, right? But life is so crazy. We're so flawed, and we won't deal with it. So we'll let it boil up to a point where it becomes a problem for everybody. Mass shootings and things like that kind of increase not because of the guns being available. There's probably been just as many guns per capita person throughout the history of mankind. But the mentality rate, it's such a different society. It's like not everybody deserves to have access to all the information in the world or look up things that they shouldn't be able to figure out if they couldn't go through a library to do it. I'm just saying, if you had to make an effort, you weren't willing to make the effort back in the day, then you were less likely to accomplish whatever it is you were going to do. And if you were an evil person and you wanted to figure out how to blow something up or build a certain thing or whatever, you had to put effort into it, much less just sit in your mom's basement and look up information and build something and then put your whole family on the news by bombing maybe, I don't know, the Boston Marathon would be a good example of two brothers that, oh my God, was insane. It was insane. If you didn't see that documentary, I'd definitely say you should watch that. I think it's on one of the streaming channels. Not going to name it since the podcast is so controversial. I don't want to bring any more names or things like that into it. Even though I feel like I should speak freely, who gives a shit, right? No, not really a whole lot of people listen to this podcast, so I'm not too worried about, certain brands like, I don't know, HBO Max. I've been an HBO customer since I was a child, okay? So, my life is built from HBO, Had the box with the little clicker you slid back and forth. Oh, you don't know what the box is? It said on top of the TV that you had to go put it on a certain channel so you can get the box to work. And then there was a little scrolly thing, so if the picture was squiggly, you can scroll the thing up or down, and it would adjust the picture to where you could see it. Oh, there was no such thing as digital. Okay, so everything was kind of grainy and gritty. That's the reason why film has developed the way it has, but the iconic performances of so many movies growing up that we still watch to this very day from 40, 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, have that grit. So you want to maintain that image and not the new image that everything would be today. It's sort of like the old hanging on to the old because it feels familiar, but you don't want to move into the future, kind of thing. A lot of people, I don't know why, let the future scare them so much. It's probably because they haven't dealt with their flaws yet. You got to be a little bit more secure with yourself. You got to embrace the very things that make you who you are. And believe it or not, it's those insecurities, those things that you have failed at, that make you into the successful person you are today. Regardless what you do, what you get up and go do every day, whatever it is, it's how you feel about yourself. Like I said, we all don't have the same paths. A lot of people have paths that seem to go off the planet. Some of us don't go very far at all. But that's life, just like nature, right? We're just trying to make sense of it. So we're the oddballs. We're the minority on the planet. So when life doesn't go your way, just remember, it's not trying to make sense of it all. It's just doing what it does. You're trying to make sense of it and wasting time. And thanks for wasting time with me if you listen to this podcast. You're awesome people. Thank you so much for all the support and the few views that I get. When I do drop it, I know there's some loyal fans out there, and that means the world to me. I haven't mentioned that in a little while. And just keep being you. Embrace your flaws. Remember, you can't find love and laughter unless you deal with the hate and fear. Because the hate and fear will always keep creeping in on your life if you keep putting it off. You're not perfect. You are capable of mistakes, and you need to own up to them. And when you do that, you put them in the past a lot quicker. They don't, rotate back on the mind like a chicken on a rotisserie, just over and over and over and over again. It's like you need to put it away. You need to move on. And a lot of us need to go ahead and just get that chicken off the grill there and eat it. And just own it. And if you do that, I swear, even the minute, smallest, whatever it is that bothers you, fuck what anybody else thinks, okay? A lot of people don't talk about their problems because other people don't understand, or they don't want to appear weak to the other person, or they don't, they have a certain image to look up to or whatever. Look, if you're at all living into those standards, by far I understand. There's certain societies and jobs and the way you have to be. That's understandable. But once you're your free self, once you're on your own time, fuck all that shit. Just remember that. It's okay to say fuck this shit. Don't give more than you're capable of giving. It makes no sense. Do you understand? I know that sometimes you become, some of our flaws in our past are not being able to be there for certain people at certain times because you didn't have your shit together. You felt like you weren't there for them. And it burdens you. You got to let that go. You got to forgive yourself. You didn't do anything wrong because if you were able, you would. But sometimes you're just not able. Those weak moments is what we remember that makes us want to be stronger for the next moment that comes along. Always prepared for something that we hope never happens, but we know it will. And that's what life is all about. So instead of always being scared and fearful of all these things that are coming because they're going to hurt, go ahead and soak in that hurt like stepping into a cold bath and let it just make you hard, make you impenetrable. Only hurt whenever you allow yourself to. Never let other things control that emotion. It's all about controlling your emotions, but anger and hurt are the hardest ones. And I promise you, once you grab a hold of that wheel, when something bad happens in your life and you find yourself actually laughing somewhere in there, you're on the right track. And you'll get through it. You just got to hang on to that thin piece of rope that's your patience, basically. That's what adult life is all about, just hanging on to the sanity that we have left in our lives. Anyway, folks, I'm going to drop this out now. I hope everybody has a fantastic 4th of July weekend. It is Friday, the night of the weekend. It's going to be a long one because 4th of July is actually on Tuesday next week, so I don't know how this party's going to play out, but I'll be watching for popos on the road, and I suggest you do too. So be safe out there. Don't blow your fingers off. And remember, celebrate your freedom. Celebrate the establishment of the greatest country on the planet that allows us to have these little conversations, to evolve and progress into the society we want to become. And be open enough to be free about everything. And find that equality, that dream, and make it come true. Every year we step closer to it. Don't believe what you see on the news. Look around you in your life, in your neighborhood. See the proof yourself. Go to a fucking Walmart. That's all I gotta say. Good. You'll see everybody of everything there. Period. And that is proof that we don't live in 1960, 1970, 1980, little 1990s, but it was definitely not all mixed together yet. There was some. And then 2000s, yeah, 10s, oh shit, now we're in the 20s. It's just going all crazy. It's great. It's America. That's what it was supposed to be. If you don't agree with that, I'm sorry. But you don't have to be with it that's what's going to happen. Just like eventually we won't have cash money anymore. Eventually everything will be digital. And then when the power goes out, everybody will be like, oh, I wish we still had cash money. All that stuff is inevitable. It's called the future. And I'm down with it. I'm down for the ride, and I'm going to laugh and love every fucking minute of it. Even the parts that's supposed to scare me and make me hate it. I ain't got time for that. I'm running on borrowed time already. So remember, love and laughter is the only thing that can conquer hate and fear out there. So go be a conqueror. Don't be a victim. Love all you guys.